Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is James Thomas, and thought I'd come on this morning. And something that was on my mind that I heard something recently from from a fellow YouTuber on why people pick someone of a different race who is racist, and I and why would they be involved with them, and why do they continue to be around them, to be their friend, to be their mate, or anything. The reason, so I came to the conclusion, the reason why people do this, they be around people who are racist because it's something from the past that psychologically affects us in the present. And what do I mean by that? It is because, we've seen it so much and we adapted so much that it's something that came from a generational curse from the beginning. Um, and it's been a whole from the present things that we see is repeating from the past because the people who were of the past who had that mindset carries it over to today. I see how racism affect some African Americans and some other people who are African descent from around the globe. And it's something when you see women, black women particularly, bleaching their skin. That's effects of racism, psychological racism. That has to be one of those worst racism of all kind is the psychological racism that was passed down through generations. And also, you see a lot of things that when you see them slave movies, it is a cycle that repeats itself. That the slave master and the slave, and so you feel bound up to be next to the person who is oppressing you. And sometimes the person with the self-centered, devilish, which is demonic attitude of being racist, who is like that is they have it's a control, it's a spirit. And so when black people get next to something like that, that's just something that is automatically is is connected to, and the people who are not strong enough to break away from that is the people who have been subjected to that most of their life. And it's kind of hard when you live in an area where you're less than the population of where you live, when you've been exposed to so much. I can, based on my experiences, and and it's not to say that all white people are racist or anything like that, or all black people are this, or all white people are that. But when you go into an environment of people, it's a different atmosphere when you go to a certain population of people. When you live in a suburbs, you carry on this the mindset of those people that are out there. If you live in a city, you carry on the people who are in the city. If you live in an inner city and you're an African American, you carry on whatever is that you grew up in that environment. If you were African American, you grew up in the suburb, and you were mostly around people who are majority that were white, and 5-10% other. You take on the mindset of the majority of the people, their likeness, their nature, and sometimes it's hard to really be proud to be black when you go around an environment like that because it's not improvised on that. It's improvised on inclusion and what is perception. When I was take my story for example, I had luckily I had a balance. My When I was growing up in Youngstown, Ohio, my grandmother lived in the projects. My mother's side of the family were Catholic. My father's side of the family were Baptist. And of course, the father's side of Betty being up in Cleveland, Ohio, is majority black. But we have, been around white people who was majority black at the time. When I was around but living with my mother's people, we went to Catholic church. And what I noticed, even though there might be one or two other African Americans, we're not really were close secluded together because they already took on the colonial mindset of those people of the people that they of the white people that were out there. And so then you have the people who are white are not used to being around people who are black because they used to be around people that look like them. So when they get around people, they don't even act like they don't even know how to approach somebody or how to properly communicate with somebody who is of the opposite race because they're conditioned to see people that think like them and act like them and talk like them. I know it's ridiculous, but it's the truth. So a black person raised in that environment is taught the same way. If you live in a wealthy suburb, you take on the demeanor of the wealth of those people in the suburb, and you take on the prejudice. You take on the uppity. Some people do. They take on those people's nature because of the environment that they're around. Because the majority of their friends are white, and so they never allow themselves to be balanced. And so, luckily, in my case, I lived in inner city of Youngstown. I went I went to a majority black in the beginning of in my elementary school. It was majority black, and went to my junior high school was white and black. It was a lot of racial stuff going on. My first year, I went to I stayed in the inner city of Youngstown, and I went to a school called it was called Rand at the time, and it was majority black. And then when I got to my junior and senior year, I went to a suburban school, and the people were totally different. They're totally opposite from the Rand inner city kids to the kids that were in Liberty. And this is in Youngstown, Ohio. And the funny thing about people out there in the suburb, they have you to believe that you're one of us when you're black. He's a good kid. He's not one of those hooligans in the city. Because some people think that black people that live in the city are hooligans, some of the ones in the suburb. And then you have some black people who in the suburb take on the same mindset. But the funny thing about it is some black people in the suburb don't realize that when you go to another suburb, you think that, I'm not like one of those other people and like that. That's one what they call it, refer to themselves as the N-word. But it doesn't matter because people see you as the color, not because of your education, not because of your job status, not because of your intellectual position in the company. They see color, and when they see color, they find it kind of threatening because they don't know how to adjust the reality. A lot of people who never really, a lot of people who are, how can I say, who are white, who never been around black people, they can't adjust their reality because they're not used to it. They're used to having a painted picture of what their reality is and what their perception of people are. So when you bring the same people who have the same perception, they don't even know how to respond or react to it. This is the truth. And so sometimes, and you can see it when you go in the suburbs because they have a predominantly suburban police department. With majority of cops are white. Uh, some of the teachers, majority are white, and so you're raised with that mentality. So you up under the impression of what them people think. Opposed when you stay in the city or you've been around a middle class blacks to low middle class blacks. And so you take on a demeanor. And this is the reason why. And this is the reason why it's a mindset that black people had. Um, I had sort of a low self-esteem at one time because I didn't know who I really was, and it played a lot on where I went to church at, because and where I went to school at, because what I found out being around these particular people that were in the suburbs, that you see that they have a prejudice towards you, and they're gonna act out their prejudice. They put it in a joke. They they uh they act it out. They might make a joke about, or they might do some mammy joke or something like that to see what kind of response they're gonna get from you, because they're not used to they have the perception of what black people is, because they're jealous with them, because musically and athletically and otherwise that they have the swag and they have the cool, and one of their girlfriends or one of their friends take on the persona, they can't stand that, and the people is around they can't stand it, and they be like, why are you acting like one of those ends, and then they call N words, whatever, basically. And so it's a pressure cooker right there. And it was an interesting experience. When I was living in the suburbs, you take on the mindset. It's kind of strange. It's like you start thinking like a white person. You really do. You literally take on the mindset when you because the majority of people that you're around, you take on their persona. And it's not tell you, if you don't have that balance of being around your own people, sometimes some around your own black people, you can easily sway that way, or finding people who are black that have some substance and bring something common, that don't carry themselves in an irrational way. So you won't perceive your own people as of low class, which was really embedded to you from the suburbs. And some people in the suburbs do think like that. And I remember there was times when I was coming up, going to high school, and one time I was in a couple incidents where some white guys was about to jump me, and I was thinking about this the other day. And this other black dude who I went to school with, we went to the same high school. He wouldn't even grab my back, and I didn't even do nothing to these guys. I didn't even provoke them. I didn't, I just mind my own business. I just did what the school teacher asked us to do. I didn't, make fun of them or just I really didn't try to really associate, just to be cordial and friendly. So they talking about they're gonna kind of jump me. And Kerry, what was his name at the time, he didn't do nothing. He didn't do nothing. Figured that he would grab my back if they about to jump me. These about four white boys about to jump me. So, needless to say, there was a black dude from another school that went to another high school. And one day I was kind of nervous and kind of sick because I'm kind of concerned. Like, man, I told this other black dude, we had a vocational school in Warren, Ohio. That said, these white boys about to jump me, man, and I ain't messing with them. I'm by myself. So this one black dude, he's from LeBray. He was like, show me who he is. And so I pointed him out which ones was which. And I don't know what he might have had his own set, his own crew. He said, hey, he had, and I heard him he walked up to me. So you got a problem with my cousin? And then, soon they backed up, they kind of backed down. And I was like, that's what I'm talking about. But Carrie, who was black, supposed to be from the same high school, same classroom and everything, didn't even grab my back. So he took on the Sambo mentality. Pretty much, he took on the Sambo. And so you'd be surprised, man. Sometimes that they've been, because some black people that you see in the suburb, you think they're gonna grab your back. That's not always the case, because they take on the same mindset. They don't want to be involved in the fight. It's just sooner or later they get conflicted with racism themselves in some form or fashion. And that was one incident. And so, and I guess the mentality I had at the time is just I just wanted friends, and my self esteem got so low that I would put up with shit, even if it was racial jokes, you know. And it was just it was really it had a lot not knowing who I was as a person, not having enough strength of inner strength of being that king and stand up to say, hey, I am who I am. And somehow I think when I look back what it was, it happened after my father died. And I just let, you let you looking out for someone to be a friend. And instead of going back to the inner city and hooking up my old friends, some that were black, there was nobody really around that I could really lean on and hang in and trust at the time. So I've been around this so-called white friend that I had, and that's what he was, a so-called white friend, because everything he do was crack racial jokes and stuff like that. But they not. But the funny part about people like that, they're not racist. But they always got. But it's something subconsciously they are racist. They are racist. You have a lot of subconscious people, especially when it comes to some white people who are racist. They're racist, and they won't even acknowledge it. And when they start cracking racial jokes, or they start innuendo, or making just little statements, or like one time, and they could be having, and sometimes they'd be direct with it. Sometimes they'd just be talking with you, having a conversation. And it was one case where I was driving this woman to the clinic because I was working for a transportation company. She just come out this, and so she was just describing what was going on with her transportation and how her boyfriend or husband had to, keep the car running. And guess what terminology she used? She called it nigger rig the car. I was kind of shocked. I was like, damn, just come on out this. But so in other words, the terminology of that, nigger rig the car, basically, that's what they use. They use terminologies like that. And that's just a code that some white people use. That's one of the little codes that they use. The ones that are prejudiced. And there's certain things you pick up along the way. And then you have some people who they just never, no matter what, there's always going to be some people just don't get it until you get to a certain age point in your life, until life really show you that this is it. It's right in front of your face when it comes to racism in the present time, from that is coming from the past time. And I kind of agree with some people. I'm glad you have a Donald Trump in there, because he let you know what the deep down what the people who are racist is about. And now people emboldened to just come out to who have that inner race. You're starting to see the ones that's coming out with that inner race stuff. And then once they open, it's almost like they open up their eyes. It's like they switch their mind just switches, like, oh, I'm not racist. I'm not racist. I'm not. Yes, you is. You're racist. Just go ahead and man up and admit that you're racist. And that's the people that makes me mad. Hey, I respect the person more if they say, hey, I'm a white supremacist, I'm Ku Klux Klan, I'm a racist. Period. I can kind of somewhat respect something like that. At least the person let you know where they stand at. But it's the worst kind of racist is the ones that they would deny it. They'll try to be your friend. They'll try to justify in every kind of way why they're not racist in the present time. But this is always going on. And how it affects black people is because we've been called the N-word so much, we're using our own terminology when we talking to about one another. That's how psychologically how racism did in America and different parts of the world. That's the truth. And so there's different forms of racism. I've encountered here in Columbus, and I've encountered in Cincinnati where I lived at. Um, how this was another form of rape. This my neighbor, I had an ex neighbor that he seemed like he was a cool dude, right? Yeah, this was in Cincinnati, particularly in Coleraine Township down there. I was living in Coleraine, a suburb outside of Cincinnati, and so. Uh, as we get to talking and he come down, he knocked, I live next door to him, say, hey, hey, maybe sometime we can get together, we can go play ball and go hit ball at the at the batting range. So I said, cool, I'll go out and hang out. He's a white guy. I thought he was really cool and stuff like that. Until one day his fiance told me he got mad at her one time because she used to date black guys. And I'm like, okay, but you used to, that was then, but what about now? You're not dating no black guy now. You with him. You're a white woman. You date with him. But it was just that psychological racism that he couldn't handle the fact that his wife was with the black guy. I was like, at one time before he got with her, and it's just one of those things that happen. Is like, but she's not with the black guy now. She didn't even have a baby. She don't even have no kids with the black guy. But it's that psychological racism, man. That's from the past and from the present. That people can't handle that. And it's that some of the people who are racist try to justify in sleeping with women who are of color. But yet they have an excuse to say, hey, I'm not racist. I got a black friend. I got a black girlfriend. And history knows that don't mean nothing. Slave masters had concubines. Thomas Jefferson, different individuals. They had slaves. They didn't think that a black slave, was not even equal to 3/5 of a human being. That don't mean nothing. That means you want to conquer something to put your seed and make you feel validated that you slept with something with the indigenous. That don't that you can still be racist. They rape. The racists rape too, and it definitely was sometimes in some situations it was not. They had children out as wedlock that wasn't out of love. The psychological racism is the worst racism of the 21st century. And the psychological where they try to spin your mind. I'm not racist, and one of my best friends, my dog is black. I mean, something ridiculous. My neighbor is black. I'm not racist. Hey, just if you're racist, you're racist. Just go ahead and admit that you're racist. I mean, what's the big deal? It's nothing new. And so people like that one good thing about it that Donald Trump just emboldened that, because now they feel like he looks like what we represent. He can say whatever he say. It's not gonna cost him because he's a billionaire. And a person's a billionaire, it ain't gonna affect them from being a racist. It's not gonna affect them from being a racist. Because it's someone who thinks like them, who is racist, is going to somehow support their cause anyway, whether it's in the national spotlight or in not in the national spotlight. So it's not going to affect them too much. But the people, like recently, I heard about Roseanne Barr, and instead of just man up and just saying, "Hey, what I said was incorrectly was wrong," and she turned around. I thought she was white. I mean, you sound like a fool. What difference does it make if she was and she wasn't? The intentions was, what you said something like this before about a group of people, about black people. I'm pretty sure she did, and there was a YouTuber that pointed that out, that she has said racist statements before. But it's that underlying, that coded. I'm gonna throw something out here, and then when someone catch it off guard, oh no, you taking it out of the whack. You taking it out of no, it's not out of whack. It's it's no secret that there's some people just because they of a certain religious faith that are prejudiced. There's some Muslims that are prejudiced. There's some Christians that are prejudiced. There's some Jewish people that are prejudiced. And and by her being of the and saying that I'm Jewish, I can't be prejudiced. Well, there were Jewish people when they arrived to America was make movies about they targeted blacks as the most inferior animalistic people on the planet. So they would make movies and they get sponsors and stuff like that. And you had people like Al Jolson that would dress up in black face and whatever and say, Mammy, Mammy, Mammy. So, obviously trying to make money to mock black people. And that's nothing new. And say, wait a minute, I can't be Jewish. I can't be prejudiced because I'm Jewish because my parents was in the Holocaust and da 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 da. That don't mean nothing. Anybody can be prejudiced and racist. Just because your people have suffered, that don't excuse you from not being prejudiced or racist. Just because you're part of a religion or race. I mean, you have people in the Middle East are targeting Africans because they don't think they treat them like animals. But even though that they could be targeted from somebody who's white, calling them out their name in some Western part of the world, but yet they project their racism on who else? Someone who's darker than them and who society consider a lower class. And so you look online, you look on YouTube or some part of the world, and you hear some stories of the people who are African or dark complected people getting treated like second class citizens, and they can't even get a job or they can't make a business in their own part of the world simply because they're black, considered black in their own country. But they're not, and then when you confront these people, oh, we're not racist. Oh, we're not racist. And I remember my friend he said, James, everybody's racist. Everybody's got some prejudice in them. And I said, you know what? He's right. Because I've seen it. I experienced it, seen it myself, and seen it online, experienced it seen it from my own self. You got people that come from other nations that come to this country, that look down on certain groups here that they know are not of a certain class. And as long as they can stay away from them, and you better not bring one home in the family. You better not bring one of these people home. And your daughter, your son date one because they ostracize, cast them out to the side. You have hit the lowest of the low. You might as well go out there, they'll go marry a damn dog or animal before they bring a person of color into the family. That's the truth. That's how deep-seated this racism, psychological racism is in the 21st century. That's from the past and it's in the present. And it's just, people just don't want to keep it real with it. And it's sadly that there's some black people who are willing to push it aside that just say, no, it's just they'll make up an excuse. And I used to be one of those kind of people until you go through enough racism. You see it in different formats when you go and move and go get an apartment, go get a better job, try to improve them. And as you're rising up for your quality of life, you're going to encounter some racism. I've encountered it in the church. I mean, in a white church, in an Hispanic church. Yeah, I mean, it's like, man, it's supposed to be on the Lord's Day. And as soon as you step in out, they people split like the Red Sea. They don't want to grab a neighbor's hand, and they make sure don't grab the Negro's hand. Yeah, yeah. People purposely they do that right in front, right in the face of God. They do that right in the face of God. So even God's house has racism, right in the face of God. God made the people, but when it comes to people in this planet, some people they don't mind as God come to their terminology. God just gonna bless their people. God just gonna bless their class and their race of people. And then he'll eventually get along with the other people. Oh, you got some people that think like that. And then only that they think like that, they project it out like that. There's some people they just that's and they do. They do. Not all churches are like that. Not all churches, not all facilities, but you do have people like that. And there's some people that would never that are white that would never understand the level of how racism weans itself. And what I mean by it weans itself is because you might have a friend that is black. You might have a fiance or what is black. And you might not catch it at first, but the person who is of color gonna see it. How they gonna see it? Well, some people just by the reaction on people's face, body language just tell the whole lot. And some people can do it with a smile and be uncomfortable with it, and some people can be just like they would just won't acknowledge you. So, and it's the truth, and they're supposed to be cool, but race in today's 21st century, racism do matter in the 21st century, and even though we in 2018, it's gonna keep going on and on. And I said this before, it's gonna go until the Lord step his foot into the earth. That's the truth. It's gonna keep going on and on and on. So, and the psychological racism is gonna keep going on and on. That's that's something when you can tell a group of people and that they're women that have to bleach their skin and think that they would to attract the certain type of man of the people that they bleach in their skin and try to be like, thinking that they're gonna get to a better class. That's why they do that. Some of them do. That's why they bleach their skin, thinking that they try to get to a certain class and see if I can bleach my skin, those people in that other part will accept me, and I won't have to be brunt of the racism. So you have people in other countries as well as this country women bleaching their skin, trying to fit to a certain class, willing to affect the pigmentation. That's a psychological racism right there. That's psychological. That's how deep wounded it is. That if you can't even accept a person's skin, which God put them in the skin. So basically, you telling the one who put you in your mama's womb that he's making a mistake, that he made you dark. That's what you basically telling them. And you're not happy with your skin. And you think, and I believe in some people where they would tell God that because that's why they bleaching their skin. And then, but it's a flip side to that because you have people they're trying to be like white or that class, and you got the white in the upper class trying to go into a tanning salon in the middle of the summertime like it is now, trying to get a tan and get dark. Talk about that's some psychological stuff. That don't long as you're all right. I'm better than those dark people, but let me be dark. So let me go and pay how much a week a month to go lay up on a bed of lights, which the medical community said that's not too safe to do that, to lay up under a bed of lights for a certain amount of time. But long as they not as dark as, at least they're not black, but they're dark, but they're not black. Oh, it's hilarious, man. It really is. It's hilarious that someone could be these same people are prejudiced. I think that's God, him playing a joke on them. Oh, you don't like black people, huh? Well, let me put it in your mind that your skin is inferior. So these people go and they pay all this money to go lay in the bed of lights where they got you can step outside on a local beach. Hell, you want to go down in some parts of the South where it's 100-something degrees at, you're going to come out dark. So stay out in that sun for about 8-10 hours. You're going to come out dark sooner or later. I mean, some ways right now in the country, but it's the psychological racism that's just really messing people up. And it's really funny, man. I mean, it's really hilarious. And so that's how it is right now. one, two, three different generations in the suburbs, they take on the Caucasian's mindset, person's mindset. They speak like them, they talk like them, and they pick up what they do. You are what your environment is anyway. And if you're not a black person that was never raised in a balanced environment, you're going to take on those attributes of what those white people out there. Some of them who carry that. Well, oh my God, there's black people here. Oh my God, how do I communicate with them? How do you communicate with them? You're black yourself, but they don't know that because the suburbs taught them that their parents gave them the best education they, and they make good money and they got a nice little house in the suburbs. And so when you majority of friends is white, so they don't really they can't concept with that, man. And I know it's unbelievable for some black people who live in the inner city because they like, man, it's like that don't make no sense. You know, you're a brother, you're a sister. But they can't consider themselves that because they were brainwashed into the conclusion that the state. So all is one. All are the same. It's a suburban, it's the mindset. Nothing wrong with having a better life for yourself. But when you got majority of people that look like the people that a 2% could be a prejudice, you take on that percentage. You take on the arrogance. You take on ain't nobody. We're in a certain class. We're in a certain neighborhood, and where the police and ambulance can come in 2 seconds, opposed to someone living in the inner city. That's the truth. And so you have your blacks that think like that, and you have some black male and black females that take on that mindset because they don't want to. The reason why some black people do it because they don't want to. I believe they want to drown the reality of race out of it. They want to drown it out. They don't want to really face it. I mean, until someone literally, it takes someone, a white person saying, look, you the N-word, face it, you're a low-class son of a gun. Or, no, we don't like you. I mean, you have to be, almost got to be direct with a black person like that because they're so conditioned. And it's going to take time. It's going to take experience. They're not going to see the different levels. No matter how much money or how much less money you have, or less class you have, or education you have, you still the opposing force of what they find, what the media has put in their mind of what black people are, inferior, animalistic, whatever. And so they don't have no class. You see these people, they feed into the hype, man. And so they don't want to. You have black people don't want to relate to that. That's from here and other places that come here that came with the mindset. And it's not until they go into some part of America it's going to remind them. You say, "Well, I'm not like one of those other people." You mean, no? I don't like those people either. It's like it don't matter, and they just don't get it. Is that it's your color? Well, the God's given color is almost psychologically think that this is a descendant of a slave. When they see a black person, they think of a low class. There's some people who are racist, who got the inner racists as well as the outer racists think like this. They can't stand these people. They don't know why. They don't know why they hate. He said, "Why do you do not like black people?" It's just that's something that's conditioned in them from TV and from what past experiences is and what lies and things like that. They conditioned to be that way, and therefore, you get some black people that's got to go around some people like that, and they don't simply understand. Like, wow, it ain't no sense of trying to ration out with someone like that. They is what they is. That they condition like that. Their parents condition them like that. Their grandparents condition them like that. Their friends condition them like that. And the environment condition them like that. They go into a place where they might hear at the restaurant, the bar, "Hey, look at that son of a doggone, they're going them niggers again." I mean, I mean, it's just they just flat out just say it just like that. And who's gonna say something because it's in an environment where there's no blacks. I mean, so they just you can say whatever the heck you want to say. I mean, it's the truth. I mean, it is what it is. And so it's just some people are like that because that's who they are. That's what they're really about. And it's ignorant that it is. And then you have some black people who don't even like their own black people. And they condition not to like their own black people. That think low of their own black people. Not based, but based on character. Not based on character, based on what perception is. So that's why a good percentage of black people don't stand together and won't stand together because as long as they can be a part of upper class where not just the white, but even the other people with the same mindset then they're good to go. Knowing that a certain percentage of African American black people where they at is going through the same conditions. There's certain people is trying to come out their condition, improve their condition, but you have to go through a lot of red tape trying to say, no, we don't want too many of you out here. No, we don't want too many of you on your job because you're not going to work out. Why? Or making some kind of excuse like that. You hire one black person, they're going to be lazy. And there's some people that do that. They justify their prejudice. They love to justify no matter what. They can have a whole position. No matter if it's a law enforcement, they will justify the prejudice. They will justify and that's what really psychologically in the present day, this is what we're looking at. That's why some people can kill a person of a different ethnic persuasion and won't do no time, won't do no real time because they're conditioned from the law, from the Constitution. Like these people still 3/5 of a human being. So that's why they're able to get up out of it. And then when they do time, they don't do that much time anyway. History shows that from the past to the present. They killed black people from just walking down the road. Black people they go into their neighborhoods and stuff like that and mess with them. Let's go. Let's go mess with one day. I don't like that one. Let's go. Just drive down the road. Just and say, hey, you start antagonizing. You see the same thing today. Antagonize, and the black person ain't got to be doing nothing. Just appearing on the scene. Just minding his or her own business. But as soon as you call it out, well, then it's that psychological racism that the United States today have. Well, it's not really race. It was just that, and they'll make up excuse. Well, it's just that the reason. Well, why did he jump? Well, why he jumped on the person? Why did he, saw them? Well, it's just that he was having a bad day, and so he psychologically, this black person just walk in appearance, and he just crossed it, and that's just come out of his mind. So he's not racist though because his friends are black. Her friends are black. I mean, it gets more ridiculous than anything. So, and then, you got some black people with cape for that and say, well, I ain't racist. The guy must really did do something. I mean, it's just totally freaking ridiculous. But yeah, racism in the past and the present. That's why it can't go because until people acknowledge it, it won't go away. It won't never go away until, like I said, till this world come to an end. Because somebody always gonna keep it from a generation. It's a spirit of it. It's a spirit since the beginning of time. And it has to take one people to look at another group of people and just have low opinions of it. And it's not just in America. I've seen in other parts of the world that they don't have value of a person who are African descent. Just think low of them, and but I know in America, there's a certain segment of America saying, hey, like have what I call the Marcus Garvey mindset, say, hey, okay, if you don't want to be around us, then We don't want to be around you. And there's a certain black people that's saying, hey, well, I tell you what, if you hate us so that doggone bad, then we'll have our own, we'll prosper our own, let's build up our own, and like they did in the first 19th, 20th century, where black people had their own black towns, black cities, black doctors, black anything. So the matter of fact that you won't even have to see a black person in your neighborhood or just come across them, whatever. That was way black people were saying, hey, don't kill us. Let us let's build our own and let's prosper our own. And if you want to feel the ones who want to think that way or psychologically feel that way, you know, leave us alone. But no, but some of the people are racist, you know, find a way that they're jealous. And when they see that the black people were prospering back in the early 20th century, had to cop a plea, cop a lie, and try to tear their stuff up down, tear they down again. And then when they had their own businesses and knowing that they're gonna flourish, in which black Americans was doing this at one point in time. And some black Americans want to go back to that time, that they just want to separate, man. It's like there's black Americans out there that do. They're just like, hey, psychologically, you can't handle my kids in school. Psychologically, you think that you teaching them some type of lie, some type of supreme mindset. So hey, if you don't like the hair, you don't like the skin. So hey, maybe we just need to just, some black people get to the point like, maybe we need to just separate. And then, like any people, if you keep looking down, if you a part of people keep looking down as a lower class, at some point, somebody out of a group of people say, well, maybe we do need to just kind of separate. Maybe we do need to just kind of back off. Maybe we need to stop spending their money. And maybe they do that, if we just stay out your way, like some people already do that come to this country. They have their own, and they go out to the mainstream society, but they come back and they circulate their money in their own community. So they'd avoid that psychological racism that's going to be projected in the kids or the kids. And so they just psychologically stay in their own community. That's what some of these different legal immigrants do, which I don't blame them, man. I mean, you have your own language, you have your own culture, and and that's what feel free to play and enjoy life, worship or whatever it may be. Just need to feel free. And for black Americans, that's what the same thing like the immigrants want. And want to feel free. No black American wants to be harassed and be looked down upon and be psychologically profiled and be called the cops on for stupid stuff that thinking that they're a thief. And it's automatically, there's a chance that the officers, that they know that the people's doing it, that they're gonna conflict with the police, and it might turn ugly to the point that somebody can die. And so there's some black Americans, and I don't blame them, that just that shit. Hey, I mean, look at because people won't let that history go. They won't let their prejudice go. They won't let their mindset go. That's why I see why some people say let's just have our own and let's do our own thing and let's have our own. And it took me a long time to figure it out. And I said, in some cases, I said they're right. I mean, when you think about the racism, and the worst one is, like, again, it's the psychological racism. It's the worst one. Like, I'm not racist, but I don't want to see you in my presence. I just want to see you when I want to see you. I want to talk to you when I feel like talking to you, because you're made to be the less of the human being because of something was projected through history. And that's the reason why some of these people are prejudiced, because they project what it was something through history. That's why they prejudice that. That's why they think that they're better than black people in the world, in this country, in parts of the world. And some black and then when you, as a black person, point this out, you know, intelligently, why are you getting all irrational? Why are you getting all extreme? Hey, you pushing the narrative. I mean, can you push in there? You can't, you think you see a black kid doing something, he's automatically doing something wrong. He can't even ride a bike down the road. He even play with his friends or something like that. It's just, I mean, that's some psychological stuff where you have to call police on black children for doing something honest, like cutting grass, selling water, having a lemonade stand, and hot dog stand. That's something psychologically wrong with a person. And it and it and they always say, well, and the same people who are racist, except they said these black people need to raise their kids up right. So when the ones that do raise their kids up right, who don't act the ones that do, it's a damn if you do, damn if you don't. They still villainize you. I mean, it's like damn, you know. I mean, it's like dang. It's like the whole focus of the world have to evolve around the ones who have that racist mindset, and they can't leave it alone. They can't seem in most black people, like any other group of people in this country, say, leave me alone. Let me be free. Let me enjoy my life on this planet. Why do I got to subjugate myself to your insecurities? Because you can't handle the reality that God put me in the skin. Why do I have to subjugate to you? You know, master. You're a person like flesh and bone and blood, just like me. That's going one day gonna go to the grave, just like me. Like it's any people on this planet. But you have people with that mindset. That's a psychological racism that we have. It went from the outward racism during the time of the early 20th century to psychological racism. Now it's trying to hide and duck in different parts. Now, and God is not the most high God is letting everything be exposed. Those who carry that mindset, he's allowing it to be exposed. And people trying to duck and hide from it, the religious community, the banking community, and all these other different communities of people, the banking industry, the other industries, the business industries, is trying to hide these things, like the NFL and stuff like that. And realistically, even if you did take every black play, which it's not going to happen because there's always going to be that master slave mindset. The slave needs the master mindset. That's why ain't a lot of black men ain't go wouldn't do that anyway. We do with their athletic ability because they feel that they 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 want they should be subjugated to that. That's the truth. So that's the reason why. And there's black people that want to have their own and stick to their own, just like any other community group of people. Not all, but some that do, because it's just like, hey, let me enjoy what the skin that God has put me in and the culture that He put me in. To enjoy this culture, enjoy my skin. There's a reason why God put me in the skin, not to be subjected through history and from history to present. Oh, what I am is what it is. And if someone has a problem with black people, then they need to take up with the Most High God. If you had any group of people, you need to take up with the Most High God. Say you made the mistake that you made these people. That we got to be subjugated to these. They won't be subjugated to us. I wish I wonder what would happen. I wonder what would happen if they would say that to the one, if those who believe in the so-called Christianity. But the ones that do, they know that they prejudice. It's like, hey, they don't mind seeing other people being subjugated, written off the planet. That's some evil stuff. When you to the point that you wish another human being be eradicated off the planet simply because of the color of their skin. You are a sick individual to think like that. You're very sick, demented, demonic, and that's of the devil. That's basically what it is. That you can't judge your reality. That there's other people that look different than you, that have a purpose and plan in a different part of the world than you, that were never meant to be conquered, never meant to be subjugated, manipulated, and controlled. Just because you think that they have an inadequate mindset of, well, they live differently, so their IQ must not be that high. They live in this certain type of environment. They must have a low class. Who are you to assume that? Who are you? Who on earth giving any human being the right to think like that in the 21st century? But but they're not saying this directly, but they're displaying it psychologically, and they put it on us. They put it on the future generation of our children and everything else. So it's getting to the point that most people are going to probably start homeschooling, or maybe they should have an Afrocentric school. And I feel that you can't adjust your reality around people who look different than you, then stay the heck away from them. Why burden yourself? Stay in your little happy go lucky majority Caucasian community that with people who feel and think like you. That think like you, that at least you can still see your people prosper. And don't worry about the other people of the planet. That's what I don't understand. The ones who think like this. This is just go out to the ones who think like this. And the ones, and then another reason why you have people like who make racist statements that who are of a different faith, a certain similar faith, religious faith, because the mindset they was raised up into. They was raised to think that black people were less inferior, but they don't mind making a dime off of them. They can make money off them, but you got to be friends with them. You can be buddies with them and everything, but you still think that you're better than them. They won't have the inclination because their brain is in collaborate with your brain, and they think these people who think like that they're the same ones. That's what it is, and it's projected. And some of our people take that mindset and they think, I don't know what, it's almost like witchcraft. They kind of boom, know how to throw it on you because they don't think you have the capability of figure that out. I mean, it's crazy how another human being can look at another human being, can based on IQ, based on race and intelligence and everything, and say that God made it this way, so the media has to follow the same narrative. And they believe that. They put it in religion, and then religion went into the school system to put on generations of children. But the other generations will be subjugated to the ones that do and keep that mindset going. But we've seen that that's kind of falling apart because logically, God ain't gonna let that happen. Like the way some of these adults wanted that happen. He's not gonna let that happen. He's not gonna let that happen. But anyway, but yeah, that's one of the questions that people raised up. Like, how does racism, past, present, affect the mind of today? And you have, African Americans who have a slave mindset. They're repeating what